is go to Firewall, and here this is the access rule as to what can connect to this device, what ports you want to forward, what devices can come in from the outside and see this, and vice versa, and go out. So here is where you can set those up. And then you have the NAT rules. This is where you want to do your natting, converting the outside IP to internal, and so on and so forth. So if you have certain web applications, Exchange, whatever certain applications that you have, and you need folks from the outside to access it, then you're going to set up the static nets here. Alright, so what you want to do is under Firewall, click on Objects, and here we need to first set some certain objects. So in our case, we're going to have a web server connected behind our firewall, and we want people to hit it. Just an example. So what we can do is call this web server internal web server internal IP is 192.168.1.15. Then you set that here. Make sure you choose the device .255. Click it here. We know this is the web server. We're going to add another static route. We're going to call this web server external. Now the external IP that the world is going to hit to see your website, we'll set that to 12.10.20.10, for example, and we'll set that to .55 and OK here. Remember, this is the internal IP, that's the external IP. Say, we'll set up some other networks also for future VLANs. I'm sorry, for future VPN tunnels. So we'll call this our DR colo, so our DR colocation, and we'll call this 10.21.14.0. That's our internal IP address of the of our location. The reason I don't need to input an external is because this is going to be used for VPN tunnel. So all we need is the internal IP address. So I'll set that up. We'll hit OK. And if we had another VPN tunnel, we'll set that up also. 10.222.15.0. Whoops. DR2 colo. Yeah, very ingenious name. Because this is the ending is a 0, so we know that's a full segment of the network. So we'll use .0 here. Click OK. And let's just say for the namesake we'll do our one more other. We'll call this SNMP trap machine. For example, if you have an SNMP machine that's used for traps or whatever, oh yeah, see how I didn't like that? Let me show you that again, because it doesn't match, only because it's not the network. See, she wants that 255. It even tells you, you know, to specify a host to use this, which is pretty cool. So you need to use this. Okay, we'll use another one. SMP trap external. Okay, so now that we've created our internal, our external entries, these objects that we've created, and our two internal objects for our disaster recovery location, which are to be used for VPN tunnels, and these are to be used for NATing purposes and access rule. So, and then your list will go on and on and on. You know, you'll have a big list of however different many objects you want to set up. So once we're done creating our objects here, then we need to come up here to NAT rules, and here you have to specify a NAT rule. So you can click on add static NAT rule. So the interface is the insight and the source. Well, we'll go with web server first. So we have our web server, which is the web server interface here. And see, the beauty of object is it has all these properties, right? It has the IP address and the subnet mask already associated to this name. So all you do is just type in the name here, and that's why I like creating objects first. So you choose your internal here. I'm going to specify outside, and we want the outside to be this IP, and then it does the translation for us. So static NAT from the inside, it's going to be NATed to the outside, and you can see a nice little map here also. So from the internal, it's going to be converted to outside, and vice versa. And so you just created a NAT. We're going to click on another NAT rule. Our internal, we're going to choose outside. Our external, SNMP, bam, we just create another one. So this is where you would create your NAT rules. And because we're working on the Insight interface, that's the only interface we have available on this 5505. That's why you only see the Insight interface here. If you had the bigger version, the 5510, then you'll have the other interfaces all listed down here. You know, the Insight, because we called it the Insight. This label that's Insight, and then you'll have the the other managed board port 1, managed board port 2, management port 3, so on and so forth. Whatever you have called those, you will see these listed here, and you can create the necessary NAT rules for those locations, for those ports. Because this is the 5505 series, it only has the one. Because it's a smaller one, only the Insight network. That's all we use. So we created our NAT rules, and this is this is how you create it. Very important. You want to make sure your dynamic NAT is set, or else none of these NAT, then the outside and the internal networks won't work. Then you're not going to be able to go out, or people come in, because they won't know. They won't know who is who. So you want to make sure this is created for you by default. So just make sure that's there. If it's not there, you want to go ahead and do the factory default like I showed you in the beginning, and then connect to it, and then this should come up. 99.9% times this will come up. If, for example, it's not there, you can always recreate it. You know, doing it manually, but you don't have to. Okay, once we do that, once our NATs are set up, then what we do is we're going to come to our access rule, and here we need to create a different access rules as to what needs to come from the outside, what needs to go, what can come in, what can go out. And we're going to be creating those rules not on the inside interface, but on the outside interface, because that's where from the outside it's going to be coming in. So we're going to click on add access rule on the outside, permit, so source anything, so anything from the outside that's coming in, we need to choose outside interface and then the IP address that's coming through on that interface. Which basically what you want to do here is you don't want people out on the internet to just randomly use any ports to come in and do something. It's gonna, as you can see by default, it's gonna block anything. It's gonna block all this. It's gonna block anything that comes in from the outside. You have to let this firewall know that, hey, if I'm going to be using the web server, I want just that traffic coming through. You know, if you're going to be using Exchange or VPN or PPTP or whatever that you have on the inside that you want people on the outside to have access, you have to explicitly specify it here. And so we want anything from the outside to come in, and what IP are we going to use? So we're going to say here TCP, because we have that website, we'll say 8080. So only 8080, only web traffic from on the outside on 8080 can come in, because you have that web. Remember, we have this website on the inside. You want people to come, and that's typically port 80 or 8080 or however you've set this up. You'll specify it here. You know, 80 or 8080 or whatever it may be. You want to specify that so people can come in. So that's that right here. We're gonna edit this, and we're gonna come down here. Now we also have a SNMP, which is gonna be doing traps, pulling traps and whatnot. So we need to allow only that traffic to come in also. So we're gonna say UDP, and that's what SNMP uses, UDP / SNMP, which is port 161. And 161 and 162, so you can see, it even tells you in the little parentheses what ports they are, and that's the beauty of this. We're going to use SNMP, and these are the only two traffics we want explicitly to come in. It's going to deny everything else, because this is a firewall and you want to make sure your internal network is protected. It's not going to allow anything else. Only what you want allowed will be coming in and going out. Not going out, but coming in. So we want anything from the outside to come in on the outside interface, but it can only be web traffic or SNMP. So talk about security. Bam, it's right there. So now that we've set up our access rules, and we've set up our net rules, and we set up our devices here, you know, our gateway, the internal and the external interface, we're pretty much done at this point. So what you need to do now is you're going to click on save, and now you're done. So in the next video, I'll show you how to do the VPN tunnel, and for that it's pretty simple. We've already created the net rules, and we'll go ahead and do the tunneling now in the next video. So let's go ahead and do that.